Trump is back in the news, fanning the flames of hatred and violence, and this time it's targeted at probably his favorite group to target his hatred towards, the Democrats. Just yesterday, I'm sure you might have seen by now, Trump was calling for the hanging of Democratic lawmakers in Congress. Let me actually show you guys how this played out yesterday. So on his Twitter copy website, Truth Social, Trump retweeted this article from the Washington Examiner that basically reads, Democratic veterans in Congress urge service members to refuse unspecified unlawful orders. And Trump retweeted that with the quote saying, this is really bad and dangerous to our country. Their words cannot be allowed to stand. Seditious behavior from traitors. Lock them up, ? President DJT. Shortly after that, he was not done yet. He retruthed a person saying, quote, hang them, George Washington would. And he was not done yet. He did one up, and wrote a truth himself saying, seditious behavior punishable by death. So this was all in one nice evening, one day. And of course, this sparked the outrage that it deserved. Here is the video that was put out by the Democratic lawmakers that caused this insane, outrageous reaction from Trump.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
you must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
So pretty normal thing to say, to urge your fellow citizens and members of the military to uphold the law and uphold the Constitution. And if you're just a reminder of your rights, that you're not obligated to follow an order that is unlawful or illegal. So that's all that video was. As a reaction to all this stuff that's happening, Hakeem Jeffries put out this statement on behalf of him and his colleagues. And I won't read you the whole thing because it's fairly lengthy, but basically the first half is just condemning everything that Trump has said and how political violence has no place in America. But this last part I think is pretty critical. We have been in contact with the House Sergeant at Arms and the United States Capitol Police to ensure the safety of these members and their families. Donald Trump must immediately delete these unhinged social media posts and recant his violent rhetoric before he gets someone killed. Again, pretty natural, normal reaction to what is happening. And it's really quite insane that we're at the point in this country where our Democratic lawmakers are fearing for their lives and have to up their own personal security. Now, just a reminder to what Trump said. Seditious behavior punishable by death. Well, let's look at what sedition is. Noun, conduct or language inciting rebellion against the authority of a state. What these Democratic lawmakers said was, don't do anything illegal. So what Trump is calling their, quote, seditious behavior is the opposite of reality. The Democratic lawmakers are saying, if you're given an order that is unlawful or illegal, you are allowed to refuse to do that. That is your right. That is your constitutional right. And Trump is blaming them for seditious behavior. So once again, in Trump world, up is down, down is up, and everything is flipped on its head. Here is Caroline Leavitt when asked about the situation.
President Trump accused 6 Democratic lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. Just to be clear, does the president want to execute members of Congress?
No. Let's be clear about what the president is responding to, because many in this room want to talk about the president's response, but not what brought the president to responding in this way. You have sitting members of the United States Congress who conspired together to orchestrate a video message to members of the United States military, to active duty service members, to members of the national security apparatus, encouraging them to defy the president's lawful orders. The sanctity of our military rests on the chain of command. And if that chain of command is broken, it can lead to people getting killed. It can lead to chaos. And that's what these members of Congress who swore an oath to abide by the Constitution are essentially encouraging. We have 1.3 active duty service members in this country. And if they hear this radical message from sitting members of Congress, that could inspire chaos, and it could incite violence, and it certainly could disrupt the chain of command.
Really insane stuff here. Once again, flipping the truth up on its head, saying that these members of the military are sworn to uphold the Constitution. That is exactly what the Democratic lawmakers were reminding them to do. And of course, in Trump's world, they flip everything upside down. And his press secretary here is basically saying, no. What the Democratic lawmakers did was seditious behavior going against the government. That is absolutely ridiculous claim to make. And one of the members that was targeted by Trump in that video, Mark Kelly, had this to say. And just to remind everybody, Mark Kelly's wife, Gabby Giffords, is a personal victim of violence, of an assassination attempt. She was shot in the head a number of years ago. She has permanent brain damage and a permanent speech impediment because of that assassination. So this hits home about as deep as it can for any person what Trump is doing.
It's just a friendly reminder that we are a country of laws. And by the way, I don't think there's anything more American or patriotic than standing with the Constitution. We're a country of laws. If anybody in the chain of command, anybody asks you to do something that's illegal, not only should you not do it, you're actually required not to do it. You have to follow legal orders. You are not to follow illegal orders. It was pretty basic. And the president's first instinct is to politicize this, to threaten political violence on members of the United States Congress. On the heels, it's just 2 months ago that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and he talked about political violence, and now his instinct is to call for execution.
I also want to play you guys this clip from another member of Congress, Chris Murphy, and I think this is really worth hearing.
The President of the United States just called for members of Congress to be executed. If you are a person of influence in this country, maybe it's time to pick a fucking side. If you are a Republican in Congress, if you are a Republican governor, maybe it's time to draw a line in the sand and say that under no circumstances should the President of the United States be calling on his political opposition to be hanged.
I think, once again, it is a very natural and logical and normal response to have in the wake of these horrific messages from the president. And let's not forget that this is the same president who incited January 6th insurrection, where police officers were attacked. This is the same president who was fanning the flames of hatred during pretty much the entire 2020 campaign. This is the same president whose own supporters were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," his own vice president. So on one hand, we probably shouldn't be too surprised at the egregiousness of what we're witnessing and hearing. But on the other hand, it's like every time you think that we've hit like the lowest it can go, Trump just pushes it even further. And We're only 1 year into the second administration, and we got 3 more years to go. And oh boy, are we in for a ride.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a long 3 years, to say the least. Definitely some strong words there from Senator Murphy. And as somebody who has generally been a bit of a centrist, it's it's becoming more and more clear that, like, this is not so much a left versus right issue. It can even be a top-down issue, but to me, I just view it as, like, freedom versus tyranny issue at this point. And when you have the president calling for the execution of opposition leaders, it's dangerous times. I don't recall any president in history ever doing this. Maybe Lincoln during the Civil War, but, like, do we want another Civil War? So just a few other comments as well. Let's start with Caroline Leavitt talking about these lawful orders. The question is, are these orders even lawful? A great example is if you look back just a few months ago with these deportations to Gitmo for a lot of the Tren de Aragua, worst of the worst members that, multiple reports have confirmed most of these people aren't even gang members. And there were judges in the process of making rulings, and judges ordered freezes on these planes to be sending out these detainees. And quite literally, the Trump administration openly defied court orders. And even while one plane was in the air, a judge verbally told the administration, hey, you need to turn that plane around. And they didn't. And I believe, if I remember correctly, they even sent another plane after that. So it just shows they're going to defy things. And then another perfect example is, what about these, strikes on these boats that are happening out in the waters? Are these legal? Because these look like war crimes, and they claim to have evidence, but nobody's showing any evidence of anything. How do we know if it's legal? Can we trust them, especially after Hegseth has sort of black boxed the Pentagon, and all the reporters have resigned and quit because they don't want to follow his rules about information. So, and then I believe he even has rules about generals needing to seek approval, or Pentagon officials seeking his approval before even talking to the press. Anyway, so all of this is just a long-winded, roundabout way of saying, like, I don't think anybody has a problem with people following lawful orders, but to say that these are just inherently lawful is ridiculous. There's wide room for debate. Judges around the country, even Trump-appointed judges, are ruling against him on a number of things, saying that what he's doing is illegal. So it's not unreasonable to remind our service members to follow the law. And I also want to comment on what you were talking about earlier with, the hang Mike Pence stuff. It is very interesting to me, the hypocrisy here of, look, if you encourage military members to follow the law, that's seditious behavior punishable by death. But when you storm the Capitol after having speeches about trial by combat and fighting for your country to take back your country, and people are storming the Capitol with riot gear, body armor, weapons, even explosives, and even they brought in Confederate flags, which talk about sedition. So it just blows my mind that behavior gets a pardon. That behavior is okay. It's permissible. This is patriotism at its finest. But if you simply tell the military, hey, follow the law, that's sedition, and it's punishable by death. So definitely some dark times. And speaking of the January 6th pardons, I hope to do a segment on that pretty soon here as well. So stay tuned for more, because it's crazy.